Hey guys!
We are back and we're coming at you with a little bit of bonus material.
Yes, so we just put out our episode on pro-life with Vanessa Campos, and there was some parts of the conversation that we feel are super important to the motherhood conversation, but they just didn't quite fit in with the story we were telling last episode.
Yeah, so we're just letting you guys, be a little fly on the wall to listen in on all our little mommy combos that we, just stay up late and have because we need it. We need it for our soul to just vent it out with all these other moms that are going through the same things that we are.
Mm-hmm. And I tried to leave in a little bit of the conversation before so you kind of have context in where this conversation would have came in the main podcast, but if not, I think this is still just a good listen on its own, just to hear us appreciating each other being moms.
So enjoy, guys.
Being in the early childhood education field I would always ask myself, how is it that I come to work with other people's babies and I leave my own baby to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever I get from this job is not enough to provide for them whatever it is that I'm preaching over here. So I feel like the last 5 years of my life have really been a balance, have really been a struggle in trying to find the balance of being able to give my kids that. I think I've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, the girls are great.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. But it has been hard because that's what I do. I have just jumped around left and right, all the way around to try to get through the first 6 years of each of their lives by being somewhere close in vicinity. And I've done that. If they move, I move. If they're placed somewhere else, I'm trying to get closer to them. I'm trying to rearrange my schedule to maximize my time with them. I'm trying to do whatever I can in my power to maximize, I guess, the opportunities that I have to teach them something. Because I feel like that's the only power that I really have, because we don't have the financial ability to be able to do it all, right? And that's what I've done. And I think that you're right. A lot of people don't have those tools. They don't have that knowledge. They don't have that support to be able to do that. So it's very tough.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where most people are coming from, where it's just dude, the situations are always so different that it's hard to say what I think is right for me should also be right for you.
Yeah.
But like you said, you as individuals, we reserve the right to change our minds about things as our lives go on.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's really what most of American society is built off of. We're self-interest people.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is of self-interest. Everything that we do as individuals is, how is this going to benefit me? Mm-hmm. Not the whole, how is it going to benefit me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're just kind of stuck in that mindset. I don't really think that's going to change anytime soon. So, I just tell myself okay, well, if this is not going to change, then I just gotta teach my kids what I can, because that's all I have to give them is knowledge that cannot be taken from them, and give them the skills that they need to advocate for themselves, because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to who advocates harder, who fights harder to get whatever is in their best interest.
Yeah. One of the other questions I asked you was if you know anybody that has had to have an abortion.
Yeah, I do know some people that, sorry, I do know some people that have been faced with the decision, and I've known people who've made the decision time and time again, and they've made this decision because it was obviously the best decision for them and for their family. But I will also say that I've never judged anyone for making that decision. And I respect the decisions that people have made for whatever reasons they've made them. I feel like parenting decisions are not really anyone's business but the parents themselves. And so with that also being said, it also goes back to what I said about like men having 50% of the decision because they're also the parent too. So having this information about people who have made this decision has never really affected me in terms of like distancing me from them or continuing to build a relationship with them. I have just carried on my relationships with these individuals the same way that it was before they shared that information. So
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like there's plenty of people that they're like, oh, you did that, you're gross. And like, you know, turn your back on them. And so.
No,
I would so different.
I just feel like, especially this past like 15 months that I've stayed home with Allegra, I have really, really, really humbled myself a lot because I feel like being a stay-at-home mom has taught me so many things about just being forgiving and just respecting people, you know, in general. And like one of the individuals who I used to like very frequently judge about their parenting was actually somebody that is really close to me. I won't say this person's name, but this individual was like, I guess.
Do I know them? I'll cut this out, I promise.
No, you don't know them. This individual is one of my siblings. So I guess that should tell you something. I won't tell you from what side, but.
One of your. Oh.
So.
Okay.
And our kids share the same grandmother. So my kids are frequently around their cousins, this person's kids, in grandma's care, and I've been able to witness a lot of parenting decisions that I don't necessarily agree with, that have made me upset, that have affected my children and the care that they've gotten as a result of the parenting that's going on in the other household. And I used to be like really judgy about it, like all the time. And now I feel like I don't come to this person's defense, but I come from a place of understanding. And so this person's circumstances are kind of like the one story that you read about the dad that was just like mooching off of her. So this individual has 2 children with one guy, and she has 1 child with another man. So she has a total of 3 children. And the second baby daddy is not in the picture at all. So this child is really like fatherless. Like she's never met her dad. He's not anywhere in the picture like whatsoever. There's no financial support provided, nothing. And so at one point in time, she lived with the first baby daddy and their 2 kids, but then there were some issues. And then after that happened, they went their separate ways, and then she met the second guy and got pregnant by him, and as soon as he found out, he like dropped off the face of the earth. So now she's living alone with her 2 kids from the first guy, and she's pregnant. But the first guy was still providing financial support for
his 2 kids.
For his 2 kids and the household. So he was still like paying the rent and still pretty much providing everything for her while she was pregnant with this other man's child. And then it got to the point where he was no longer providing the support for the household, so he was no longer paying her rent, and then she was just like really irresponsible with it, and she ended up getting kicked out of where she was living, and now she has nowhere to go, and she has 2 children with him and 1 with somebody else, and there was like nowhere for her to go. So she ended up having to move back in with him. So now they all live together, and he lives in a household where one of the children is not his. So all of that to say that this situation has really humbled me, like just knowing that that's going on, because I've seen the many different ways that all of this has affected all 3 of the kids. And I've also seen a lot of the ways that it's affected her and her mental health. And we come from a culture and we come from a background where mental health, reaching out for mental health support is not really something that we're normalized to do. And so I think about her frequently, and I just think to myself, I think that given all of her circumstances, I think that she is doing okay. I used to be really judgy, but I tell myself, like, you know what? Like, she doesn't do drugs. She's not out in the streets. She's not out getting pregnant again. She is not very attentive to her kids, and she doesn't really give them a lot of love and affection. But her kids are fed. They are in school, and they show up at school consistently. They have clean clothes, and their basic needs are met. And she is physically present most of the time. She's not always emotionally present or mentally there, but she shows up. And so I just kind of, and the first, I guess I kind of like didn't really do a good job at painting a picture of who this first baby daddy is, but he's not really that supportive either. He's very like, there's a lot of verbal abuse that happens in the home. There's a lot of like hostility in the home. There's a lot of like emotional neglect that goes on inside the home. So this guy is not a saint. Like, yeah, he's, helping to put a roof over their heads. But I really do think that if he didn't help with that, he probably wouldn't have a roof over his head himself. So I kind of am coming from a different perspective now, and I just kind of think like, like she has to go home to this like every single day, and she goes to work every single day, and she works overtime almost every week. So I think that like being able to stay home with Allegra has really humbled me to not be so judgy on other parents and the decisions that they choose to make. And
I can definitely agree with that, because we both know how hard of a job it is now that we've done it for as long as we've been doing it. And it teaches you so much more. We spend our whole day teaching our children, and we don't even realize how much they're teaching us. You know, we're learning so much patience, and I can definitely agree with you. I really feel like until I had such an overwhelming experience with being a stay-at-home mom, it really taught me to just stay in my lane. Yeah. And not judge other people's decisions because they don't affect mine. Yeah. Whatever, you know, you never know what somebody's story is, what somebody's secrets are, what their mental, everything that's going on upstairs. So they may react on a temporary emotion and not realize they're causing permanent damage. Yeah. So it's just so hard to sit there and make them feel even worse about what they're going through with our judgy eyes, you know? Yeah. So I feel the same way. I'm just like, you know what? I only worry about me, myself, my mental state, and my children, because that's all I have the capacity and the control to do. And that's it. Like, it's very humbling to be a stay-at-home mom, because you really, really learn that nobody is perfect. There is no perfect parent in this place. So we're all fighting the same battles. We really are. Just
they just look different for everyone.
Right, right. And we all hide our daily struggles just as well as everyone else does. You know, we're not always all walking around looking sad, but we might be feeling that way, you know? So
you two are like really great at it too. Like, your kids are all wonderful, and whenever I'm like with you guys, it just seems like it's, you know exactly what you're doing. Like, it's so easy. Like, you guys have the little system already going, and I'm always with my listening ears on, like, what are they going to say? What are they going to do in this situation? I want to know. What do I do when I get there?
That's so funny.
Thanks. We're winging it too. So,
we really are. I'm winging it too. Believe it or not. I know that you may not believe this, but in the 15 months that I have been home with Allegra, there is no fucking routine, okay? There is no routine.
Right. It's a struggle.
I do not wake up at the same time every day. We do not have lunch at the same time every day. I very frequently take my preschool child to school late, like an hour and a half late. And this is like the preschool teacher mom, and this is like the stay-at-home mom that does not have shit to do, and your kid is showing up late, and you're in fucking PJs. Like, what are you doing? And I have beat myself up time and time again over it, because I've just told myself what I think everybody else would say to me, right? I've told myself what I think all the judgy eyes are saying. Right. And I've said to myself, like, dude, are you fucking serious? Like, you stay home all day, you don't do shit, and your kid's late to school. Like, what are you doing with your life? And then, you know, I get nervous, like, when it's, like, close to the time that Juan's gonna be home, and I'm like, oh my god, like,
the house is a mess.
The living room looks exactly the same. Like, what? I need to clean this right now. But then I stopped, because it was taking, like, a really big mental toll on me, and I was just like, you know what, like, I'm not going to do this to myself. I only have these moments in life with Allegra one time. It's only going to happen one time. She's only going to be 14 months and 15 months and 1 month and 2 months old. She's only going to be that age one time, and I'm not going to spend it doing that to myself, because I want to spend it
enjoying her,
empowering myself, so that I can look at her and say, you have badass mom, and you're going to be a badass woman when you grow up, because you have a badass mom. And I want to be able to tell her that, but I can't tell her that if I'm constantly beating myself up.
Sometimes I feel like I'm too easy on myself. Like, yeah, it's fine. She'll live. A little trauma's okay. Like, when I hear you guys and all the, like, things that you're thinking about, I'm like, man,
Like, I'm not thinking that.
Should I be worried about those things?
I know. Should I
I'm in my PJs all day and I don't even blink an eye about it.
be? School? What school? Just kidding. No, she's definitely in school. But
you know what? I think that your like really laid back approach has definitely. I know that like all the kids have different temperaments, right? But I think that your laid back approach has really given Justine the opportunity to kind of like build that tough skin, because you were so laid back about it that she was just like, Mom, like, you're not really giving me any direction here. Okay, well, I'm just gonna make my own decision, and now I'm headstrong. And she's very headstrong. She really is. And I think that I think that has like, but just think of what she could become, you know, like she's gonna be like somebody that's like, I know we don't want to think about this, but she's gonna be somebody that's like leading the riot, you know, not like following the riot. She's gonna be the leader.
Yeah, she makes a ton of decisions for herself all the time, and she's very independent. She's crazy. Like, you know, a lot of the kids that I know are like, they fall down and it's like a really big thing for them, you know?
She's like, whatever.
Yeah, I'm okay. Like, she doesn't even want us to ask her if she's okay.
Don't
Like,
touch me. Like, you're interrupting my schedule here. I have places to be.
I'm fine. Don't stop me from what I'm doing. I know I got hurt. I know, like, you know, we just remind her, like, that's what happens. And like, I feel like the one thing that I repeat all the time when she's not listening to me is just, you know what happens to kids that don't listen? They get hurt. So then when she gets hurt and she's like, I wasn't listening. I'm like, yeah, I know. And that's what happens.
I'm like really curious to see the approach that she's going to take to the transition and the adjustment.
Like when she gets older?
No, like
to the baby.
Oh, to the baby?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now she's really excited about it. It's all she cares about. So we'll see when she's here.
Yeah, just wait until your spot's not next to Mom anymore on the bed.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it, and she's saying that she's ready to be in her own room, and she can't wait. That she's like, well, can I sleep with my sister? I'm like, we're gonna have to wait. Like, maybe after she turns 1, you guys can sleep together, but while she's little, no. But yeah, she's just is really anxious to be with her. She doesn't like being alone. But we'll see.
Well,
I'm nervous.
What are you nervous about?
I don't know. I think I'm nervous about how I'm gonna juggle the two
Handle
of them.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll work itself out, I'm sure. I'm hoping I don't get overwhelmed. I mean, I know I will get overwhelmed, but I hope it's not a constant feeling of being overwhelmed.
Yeah. You have a lot of support in your house, so
yeah,
I'm not worried about you.
I do, and like we've talked about a bunch of times, like I am not afraid to ask for help. Like if I need it, it'll be like, come on, somebody come get this one while I do this, or you know.
That's good, because I am the total complete opposite, and I never ask for help. And you know, having Luna was like the biggest challenge of my life, because it was really just all me. I had nobody, me and Joey, of course, but he had to go back to work, and woo.
But I think like your guys' situation is like most common, you know, where most women don't want to ask for help. But I think for me, I was so catered to like my whole life that I just kind of expected people to do things for me. So I'm just like, well, somebody's gonna help me, so let me just ask. Like, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If I don't ask somebody to help me, nobody's gonna do it.
It's easy for you to use your voice and just speak up and be like, hey, come over here and help me, man.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Why are you just looking at me?
And I feel like with me, I felt like it's like me saying I couldn't handle it if I'm asking for help.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't got it.
I'm exactly that way.
People, I need something. You know?
I'm exactly that way. And I feel too like that a big part of the reason why I didn't want to ask for help was because because of what you said, Vanessa, but also because I didn't want to give the message like that I was giving up some of my like control. Like I didn't want to say like, can you help me? And then now they're like feeding my kid, you know, like chocolate for breakfast. Yep. And then they're like, well, you asked me for help. And then I'm like, well, just because I asked you for help, it doesn't mean like you have some free reign here. I'm still in the house.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have a lot of people who are like pretty on board with what it is that I'm doing, other than like today I was getting a little bit frustrated because we were having somebody come in to work on the house today, and I didn't want Justine to be here because I knew my mom was going to be busy and nobody was really going to be able to watch Justine, and I didn't want her to be stuck in front of the TV while these people were here for who the hell knows how long. And I told my mom yesterday, like, I'm going to send her to camp tomorrow. And she was like, no, I don't want her to be at the beach and in the water with those people. And I'm like, she's fine. Like, it's going to be okay. The kids are all small. And they have a good handle on it. And she just didn't want to accept her going to camp, like trying to make an excuse for everything. And then in the morning, like Ernie overheard her telling Justine, oh, you have a cough. You probably shouldn't go to camp. And she knows that Justine has allergies and wakes up coughing every morning. So she takes her medicine and then she's fine. And I'm like, dude, like you're putting this in her head that she's sick and shouldn't be around other kids, and she's not sick. So that was like kind of frustrating for me. But, you know, Ernie took her anyway.
And she's fine, right?
Of course she's fine.
Yeah.
Of course she is.
That's what I say. I'm like, I told you so. Like, didn't I tell you this was going to happen?
Yeah. And,
I'll write that.
Yeah, and the people were only supposed to be here for 2 hours, but they were here for 4. And they had a hard time, so they were kind of like arguing with each other. And I'm like, dude, like exactly like what I didn't want her to be around.
Be
like,
part of,
yeah. And like I would rather her be at the beach playing with kids, having a good time, than feeling like stressed out over these men who are arguing. So I think I made a good choice in not listening to my mom and being like, no, she's going.
Yeah, you did.
Don't stop her. Anyways, we ran really off topic there.
Well, I think that was just in relation to your last question, because you had asked about if I knew anybody, and then I shared that, you know, I try not to be judgy, and then we just started like talking about how we're great moms.
Because we are. Because we are.
We have to remind each other. Because nobody else tells us we're great moms.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I feel like I'm so lucky to have such a great group of women around me, because I don't feel like I don't get told that I'm a good mom. I feel like I get told often, and I try to tell people too. And I don't know. I have never felt that lack of support. Like I know you were saying, Vanessa, in the beginning, like you kind of felt that way from your mom, like she never told you were a good mom, or so yeah, I don't feel like I'm super fortunate to be around, you know, the two of you and other, you know, moms that I know that have been really kind to me. And yeah,
that's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah,
but that's thanks like to you guys. Like, you guys are a huge part of that.
Well, thanks. Be sure you cite me.
Yeah, and even like, you know, my sister-in-law too, she's so great at, you know, making sure I know what I'm doing right. But also, like, when I'm doing something that's shitty, like, come on, like, don't be an idiot. And I'm like, you're right. I don't know why I said that or why I did that. I'm going to go apologize to Justine right now for that.
That's good.
Yeah, but I know this conversation was a very long time coming. It was so hard for us to get our schedules together.
And I'm glad we did it.
I know Allegra was sick for a little while, and I'm so glad she's doing better.
She's actually sick again.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, she has a cold now. I mean, it's just a little cold, so I'm like super grateful that it's not, you know, anything serious. But the last one did kind of scare me.
Yeah.
Was everything okay with that?
Yeah, she was having diarrhea like for 2 weeks straight, and she was like literally not eating anything. But it wasn't even like diarrhea that was coming out. It was like, I think it was like the bile like in her stomach, because it was like a lime green color, and it was just like very, like, it smelled very acidic. And yeah, it was just really tough to go through that. She lost like 2.5 pounds. She was just going through like a really tough time, and we tried, to like retrace our footsteps and kind of find like the culprit and determine like what it may have been or could have been. They drew blood once. They took like 4 urine samples. They took 2 stool samples. And they ran like all these tests on her, and then everything came back negative. And they were like, well, we don't have an explanation for anything, so we can't tell you what's wrong. And I was
maybe like what they always say, oh, it must have been viral.
Yeah. So they're like, it's probably just a really bad bug. And I'm like, okay, well, this really bad bug is like still here, and it's like 10 days later. Yeah. So eventually it did go away. It was like the 14th or 15th day, and she finally like passed the solid poop, and I was like, oh my God, thank God.
Who knew you could get so excited over shit, huh?
I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, I've been excited over poop for like the past 15 months.
Oh yeah, we still need to do an episode.
I know we do. But yeah, she finally passed the solid poop, and she like, it was so crazy. Like, she gained like 1.5 pounds back. I kid you not, like in like 36 hours. It was so weird.
Making up for lost time.
Yes, it was so weird. I was like, are you serious? Like, how did you just put that on so quick? It was crazy. Yeah.
All that chi-chi.
I know. It is. It really is. But she has a little cold now. She'll get over it. I'm hoping she's over it by Monday.
I hope so too.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so sad she's sick again, though. She's
I
been
am
sick for
too.
way too long.
Yeah, she has been. But I think like it's just like a lot of the transitions too that are happening. I gotta go back to work on Monday, and she started school.
Are you going back to the same place?
No, I got a new job.
Oh, cool.
So this is part of my chasing my kids everywhere journey.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job closer to where Olivia's going to be in school. So it'll be her and I throughout the day.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I know you're not the only, child development parent that has that guilt. I used to be really cool with one of Luna's teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And she had, I would think he was like 15 months at the time. She would do our home visits, and she would tell me the same thing. Like, I feel so guilty because, here I am spending,
time with your baby.
8 hours a day developing other people's children, and my child's at a babysitter right now. Like, he's not getting any kind of educational anything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I would feel so bad, And
then, like, I feel like, sorry, go ahead.
Because, it was 8 hours of work plus her commute and everything. So by the time you get home, it's like, she's like, I have all these plans to sit down and do X, Y, and Z with him. And before I know it, I cook dinner, I clean up, and it's bath time and bedtime. And I got no time to sit and develop him like I did everyone else's kids. So when you said that, I was like, I know there's people that can totally relate to that.
And I think, like, part of it, too, is, like, after a certain amount of time, you start to feel like this is work now. Like, you're doing this for your paycheck. And there's some kind of, like, monetary value that's attached to what you're doing all day. So then you go home, and thank God, I didn't have to work that many hours, and my commute was not that far. So by the time I got home, there was still a little block of time that I could have dedicated to doing all those things with Olivia. But now in my mind, it's like, I don't want to keep working. I just came home from doing that. Right. I mean, I just came home from doing that all day, and it's categorized as work. And then I get home and I have to do the same thing. So
yeah, and now you have Allegra now too. So
mm-hmm. And so then like that's when I made the decision, and I was like, you know what? Like, I invested a lot of time and energy and money into this career path. And yes, it is for me to be able to, you know, get a refund on what I invested, but I think that I can afford a little bit of time to dedicate all of that stuff that I learned into my own children. And that's what I told myself. I was like, I'm not going to be giving the best part of me to other people's kids before I give it to my own.
Right.
And that just goes back to like the whole self-interest thing that I talked about, you know? And I just have really started to kind of believe that, well, and practice too, that, you know, I am the only person that is going to advocate for my kids the way that I do. Nobody else is going to do that. Even when, you know, and this is not to say that like I half-assed my job or anything like that, but even when I was a teacher, I would not advocate for one of my students the way I do for my own children. But I will teach you how to do it as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I love doing that. I love whenever a parent's like upset over something, or whenever a parent like has a problem like with the school district, or like with, sorry, Juan's here. You're making a lot of noise, babe.
He's trying to feature himself on Moody Mommies right now.
Oh my God, Justine did not want me to get up out of bed right now because she was like falling asleep but hadn't fallen all the way asleep, and I'm like, I gotta go work on Moody Mommies. She's like, why can't Daddy do it? And I'm like, because it's
Moody not, Daddy.
Yeah, I was like, and it's not Moody Mister. She's like, why can't it just be Moody Misters? And you could stay here. And I'm like,
that's funny.
They are silly.
Yeah, but I love teaching parents how to do that. Like, if they're ever like upset over something, or, you know, they especially like if I see parents that are being taken advantage of, because they're naive, or, you know, they don't know any better, or because they don't have the information, I definitely like send them the information, and I'm like, you need to go say this, and this. And I just think it's the best thing ever to be able to speak up and advocate for your kids, because believe me when I say, the minute you open your mouth as a parent, like, these administrators, they start listening, because your kid is money to them. If your kid leaves, they lose money.
Well, I think it's important that you're using your voice to give them the support that they're lacking, that, you know, they're not even aware that they're lacking.
Yeah.
Because it's going to definitely help their mental state and their children's mental state as well. And that is the most important of all, that we raise mentally healthy children. So maybe someday we can get to a world where there is no rape, there is no incest, there's all of those things will just magically disappear because we heal ourselves as adults.
I definitely think that it's something worth striving for and fighting for and working towards. Definitely. For sure.
Getting totally off topic now.
It's all relative.
Mom chatting it up now. I know.
Moody
Mommies. Stuff,
guys. But we are running at like close to 2
almost
hours.
2
now.
hours.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. All right, let's wrap this thing up, ladies.
Vanessa, thank you so much for coming back and speaking to us about this. I know you were nervous, but once you got going, there was nothing to be nervous about.
No.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You ladies are
we love having you on.
I like listening to your guys' podcast and your episodes. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice to just listen to you guys conversate, and I guess it's just I think the most pleasant part about it is just like how natural you guys come off in conversating with each other, because I really do think that those are the kinds of conversations that we need to be having.
All right, that was it. That was our cut out.
Our juicy mom talks.
And if you guys like this bonus episode with extra footage idea, let us know, so maybe this is something that we can continue to do in the future.
Yeah.
Otherwise, tell them this.
Stay moody, guys.